Design of cantilever slab. Cantilever slab, how to design the cantilever slab, that we are going to see over here. Okay, so now we will start. So in the last lecture we have seen the two-way slab design. Okay, so in that we have seen that we calculate Ly, just we brush up the last lecture, Ly by Lx ratio which is less than 2, then we have gone for two-way slab. So this is the formula to calculate the depth. This is the recommendation given by the IS code. Okay, it is given in clause number 23.2.1, page number 36. Then we have assumed percentage of steel, then we calculate the modification factor. This is calculated from figure number 4, page number 38. It is calculated from figure number 4, page number 38. Assuming 8 mm bars with clear cover of 15 mm. We have provided 8 mm bars and our clear cover was 15 mm. We have calculated the depth in shorter direction, depth in longer direction. Now I have explained you in the last lecture with the diagrams. Go through that lecture to clear this concept. Then we have calculated the effective span, and after that effective span in shorter direction, effective span in longer direction. Then we have calculated Ly by Lx ratio, that is we named it as R, and it is 1.32. So again we move to the IS code on table number 26, page number 91. We have calculated the value of alpha x and value of alpha y. We have assumed that for this all four edges of the slab are discontinuous. If any statement is given to you in the exam in those 9 conditions which are given in the IS code, accordingly you choose your row and column from where to take the value of alpha x and from where to take the value of alpha y. After that, similarly, in the what we have done in the case of one-way slab, in similar note or similar line, we have calculated the loads. That is the loading calculation we have done. And after that we have calculated the bending moment. While calculating the bending moment, I told you the one point that here the bending moment along the shorter span alpha x w lx square, here lx is there, and in the longer span also lx is there. Sometimes what happen in exam, we may forget lx and we may take here ly. So don't take here ly, you have to take the lx. Then after that we have calculated the steel in shorter direction as well as the steel in longer direction with their spacings. Now I hope you are clear with these things, how to calculate the spacing, and these clause are also given in the IS code 3D 300 for main steel. Then we have calculated a percentage steel provided. After that similarly we have calculated steel in y direction, spacing. Then we have provided steel at the corners. So why we have provided the steel at the corners? Because in the numerical it is given to us that the corners are held down. Okay, the corners are held down means what? At the corners some reinforcement is provided. That is what is the meaning, which is to resist the torsion. Generally it is provided. And if in the problem nothing is given, or they told you that the corners are not held down, then that is the case of simply supported slab. If the corners are not held down, then you simply eliminate this calculation. What we have calculated here, that the corner steel Lx by 5, Lx by 5 was our length, and area of steel is 3 by 4 ASTX main steel. So just you have to skip this step. Okay, up to this point. If the corners are not held down, if the corners are held down, then this is the additional step you need to do. Yeah. So after that, check for shear. So you need to check the shear also. So to take the check for shear, we have used the formula WLX by 2. From that we have calculated the shear, the nominal shear stress also we have calculated, and after that percentage of steel at support is half of the percentage of steel at the center, that we have taken. And now from here onwards we will up to this point I think we have completed up to the shear force point. Okay, so from here onwards we will see how to calculate further. So now VU is equal to WLX by 2, which is equal to 12.18 into 4.65 divided by 2. So it is WLX by 2. So it is 12.18 into 4.65 divided by 2, which is equal to this value VU, which is this value VU. So then after that we have to calculate the nominal shear stress tau V. So formula for tau V is VU upon BD. You know this. So VU, what is the value of VU now? So here you put this value 28.31. Okay, it is kilonewton. So convert it into the Newton into 10 raised to 3 divided by B into D. B is 1000. D is the depth in x direction. So depth in x direction is 146. So from that you will get the value of tau V as 0.19 Newton per mm square. This is the value of tau V. Okay, tau V means nominal shear stress. Nominal shear stress means that this much amount of shear stress is getting developed in that slab. Okay, so now percentage of steel at support. So the percentage of steel at support is half of the percentage of steel at the center. So at the center we have provided 0.3% of steel, so half of it is 0.15. So now the shear strength of concrete, tau C dash. So this shear strength is calculated from table number 19, page number 73. Okay, so now the for this 0.15%. So if we go to the IS code, table number 19, page number 73. So now I will open the IS code. In the IS code on the page number 73, we will get that value. Table number 19. So page number 73. 71, this is 72 and 73. This is the table number. Okay, this is your table number 90. So from this, now our percentage of steel. What is our percentage of steel? This is our percentage of steel, 0.15. What is the grade of concrete? Grade of concrete is M20. So the value for M20 is here. This is the value, 0.28, because our grade of concrete is 20 and our grade of concrete is 20, uh, and then here the percentage of steel, it is 0.15. So 0.28 is the value, that this value we will take forward. This is our tau C dash value. So from here we will get the tau C dash. Tau C dash is equal to 0.28. From here we will get the tau C dash is equal to 0.28. But this is not our final shear. After that what we do, we go to this table. Okay. Now we go to this table, clause number 40.2.1.1, and here what is given. We have to see what is given now. So for the solid slab, the design shear strength of concrete shall be tau c into k, where k has a value given below. So this is the value of k now. Okay. So k has a value given below. So k, overall depths are given over here: 300, 275, 250, 225, 200, 175, 150. Our overall depth is we have to see, it is somewhere between 165, I think so. Okay, so it is somewhere in between 165. So I'm not exactly remember the value. We will see in the our slides, but you remember these values. For 150 depth, the value of k is 1.3. For 175 depth, the value of k is 1.25. So which we need to multiply with this 0.28. So now again, if we move to the slides, now here From table number 90, this is the value 0.28 Newton per mm square. This is the value of tau c dash. Okay. Now we need to find out what is the value of this k. Okay. So we have seen that our depth is 165. So we know that for 150 depth, the value of k was 1.3. Okay. And for 170 depth, the value of k was 1.25, and we want to find out the value. What is our depth? Our depth is 165. We want to find the value for 165. So simply take the difference between these two, do the interpolation, you will get the value of k. And if you do the interpolation, the value of k is turns out to be 1.26. This is the value of k. Okay, 1.26 is the value of k. So here, permissible shear stress. Okay, so the permissible shear stress tau c is equal to k into tau c dash. Multiply this value, then you will get the final answer as 0.35 Newton per mm square. Now see, permissible is 0.35, and what is generating? Generating is 0.19. Okay, so 0.19 is generating, and allowable is 0.35. So it is less than allowable, so it is safe. Okay, so tau v is less than tau c, so this is safe in shear. Okay, so now we will move to the next point. So now check for development length. Okay, so check for development length. How do we take that check? You know that our LD must be always less than 1.3 m1 upon Vu plus L0. Okay, so this is the condition. So LD is the development length. This is 1.3 m1 upon Vu plus L0. M1 is nothing but, how do we calculate the M1 generally? We take this M1 as, M1 is nothing but it is Mu by 2. M1 is nothing but it is Mu by 2. Okay, so now if we see here, so M1 is calculated, M1 is equal to Mu by 2. So our Mu is 21.068 by 2. So this is the value of M1. Shear force, just now we have calculated, it is 28.31 kilonewton. L0 is equal to what? L0 is width of support divided by 2 minus clear cover. Okay, so if you put all these values, you will get L0 as a 60. If you put here the values, our cover is 15 and the width of support is 150. I will write here, still I will write here, our width of support, we have taken it as a 150. Okay, and our clear cover is 50. So 150 by 2, it is 75. 75 minus 15, it is 60. So the value of L0 is 60. Now calculate this whole term. 1.3 m1 upon Vu plus L0. So 1.3 m1 upon Vu plus L0 is equal to 1.3 as it is m1. This value what we have calculated above, 10.534 into 10 raised to 6, and then divided by here the Vu shear force 28.31 into 10 raised to 3. This is your shear force. kilonewtonचं न्यूटन मध्ये कन्वर्जन केलेलं plus L0. The value of L0 is 60, which is put over here. So the value is 543.72 mm. Okay. So this formula we have taken from page number 44. Remember this. So development length now. Development length is phi sigma s upon 4 tau bd. So phi means diameter. It is 8. Sigma s is 0.87 fy divided by 4 into tau bd. Tau bd's value is 1.2. But increase that value by 16% as it is provided in tensile zone. So increase it by 60%. So multiplied by 1.6. So you will get this value 376.09 mm, and this formula is given on page number 42. So Here finally you will get this LD is less than 1.3 m1 upon VU plus L0. Hence it is safe. Okay. Hence it is safe. And we have not taken the check for deflection over here. Why we have not taken the check for deflection? Anybody? Why we have not taken? Because here if you see percentage of steel assumed and percentage of steel provided are same. Okay, so the deflection criteria is satisfied. See here, if percentage of steel assumed is greater than or equal to percentage of steel provided, okay, then the serviceability criteria, that is deflection check condition, is satisfied. Okay, so this is already satisfied. This condition is already satisfied. So that is why we have not taken again. So now after that, the last part remaining, it is the reinforcement details. It is the reinforcement details. I will show you. See, this is the typical cross section. Okay, along the line. This is the typical cross section along the line. These bars start. This is the main steel. Okay, and these are alternate bent up bars. Yeah, main steel means steel in X direction. Both are main steel now, as it is a two-way slab. But this is the steel in X direction, and this dotted dots, what you have seen over here, this is the steel in Y direction. Okay. So if I show it more properly, then whatever you are seeing here, this, this is the steel in Y direction. So if I take this is the steel in Y direction. Okay, and whatever these bars are there, this is the steel in X direction. This is the steel in X direction. So now here if you see this bar in X direction will start from this point, it will move up to this much and then it is bent. The bending length is from the center of the support, it is 465, this total length, okay, where it bends. And after this will move straight line, okay, and further it is anchored. And now second bar, it will start from this point, it is again move and then bind. Okay, so this 465 value, from where it is come, it is taken as L by 10. So L is nothing but our span. L by 10, 10 means what? L is nothing but our span. So L is, what is the value of L? Our value of L by 10. It is nothing but it is equal to 4650 divided by 10. So which is equal to 465. So this is L by 10, which is taken as 465. Here also 465, and this bar start from this point, then it bend and it will move straight. So these are called as alternate bent up bars, and these bars are the steel in Y direction. So this is your main steel, it is 8 mm bar above. X direction steel is 110 mm center to center, which we have calculated already. And after that, this steel in Y direction, it is 8 mm bar above, 140 mm center to center. This also we have calculated. After this diagram shows you the torsional reinforcement, because reinforcement at the corners of the slab, because the corners are held down. That is why this is the reinforcement which is shown over here at the corners. So I have shown only a sample here, a single corner. This reinforcement is repeated at all the four corners. Okay. So now here this length is Lx by 5, this is also Lx by 5, so 930 by 930, and here the bars are 8 mm bars about 140 mm center to center, both in X as well as in Y, in X direction as well as in Y direction. This also we have designed. Okay, so this is the reinforcement details, and here the problem ends. So these much steps you need to follow while designing the two-way slab. Okay, so the procedure is very easy. Once you go through the step, you will understand it is very easy. Just now I want to tell you one more thing here from the IS code. that about those conditions which we have used over here from page number 90, I think so. Okay, to calculate the what we can say bending moment. If we go to the IS code, now I will go to the IS code. IS code page number 90, 90. So here I will move to page number 90. Okay, now this page here. See now this table number 26 you are going to use when your corners are held down, that is torsional reinforcement is provided at the corners. In that case also, out of these 9 cases, one of the case may be given to you in the numerical. They may say that they design the interior panel, or they may say that they design the panel which is having one short edge is discontinuous. So short edge means the edge in x direction. That is your short edge. Okay. It may be say that this one short edge is discontinuous, or they may say that one long edge is discontinuous. Okay. So these types of question may be asked in the exam. So that type of panel you need to design. Now here the one long edge is discontinuous. So only one edge is discontinuous. All other edges are continuous edges. Okay, so if I draw the diagram over here about that, I will show you sample. I will draw here only. You try to understand it your side, this side. So now this is the your slab. Okay, suppose this is your slab. I will shade that. Okay, so this is your slab. Now what they have said, suppose we will take condition number 3. One long edge discontinuous. So this is our Ly. Suppose that this vertical is Ly is our long edge. Ly is always longer edge, and Lx is the shorter edge. So one long edge is discontinuous means what? Here the slab is continued along this portion also. Okay, the slab is continued along this portion also. From here, another panel is there. Okay, this may be the case. Here also the slab is continued maybe. So this is the case. And here also it is continued, this panel. Okay, so now if you see that one edge is discontinuous, the meaning of that. Okay, one edge is discontinuous. So this is Ly. This is your Lx. This is Lx, Ly. So here what they have said, one long edge discontinuous. So here the first panel is there, this is second panel, this is third panel, and suppose this is fourth panel which we have designing now. If you see on this side continuity is there, it is not discontinuous. On this side also it is continuity there. So this is the shorter side. So on the shorter side it is continuous. Okay, on this shorter side also and on another shorter side also. On the longer side, it is continuous on left hand side. But if you see on the right hand side, it is not continuous. So it is called as discontinuous. So this condition is called as one long edge is discontinuous. Okay. Now it may be very clear to you how to take the other conditions. Now in the second condition, what they have said, one short edge is discontinuous. So one short edge is discontinuous, it is said in the second condition. So what is the meaning of that? One short edge is discontinuous. So now if I draw here the diagram again, for one short edge is discontinuous, then I need to show here one more panel. Okay, and now if you see here, name this is your LX, this is LX. So one short edge is discontinuous means what? This is your long edge. So this is continuous on this side. This is also the longer edge. This is also the continuous. This is short edge, but it is continuous. And now this short edge, it is discontinuous. Okay, it is not continuous. So here one short edge uh, discontinuous may be the case below, and here they have said that one short edge continuous. So here the second condition is there they have told us that one short edge continuous. See here, one short edge continuous means what now? I will draw again the panel. So this is the panel. Now this is my shorter side, this is longer side. So they have told us one short edge continuous. So it means that other three edges are discontinuous. So if I draw the rectangle again, if I draw the panel, this may be the case. Here may be the second panel. Okay. Now if you see over here, this is Ly, this is Ly, this is Lx, this is Lx. And what they have said, one short edge continuous. This is the important word. Discontinuous or continuous. You need to read it very carefully. If one short edge is continuous, then see here, this is the longer edge discontinuous. Okay, this longer edge discontinuous, this shorter edge discontinuous, but this shorter edge is continuous. So this is the case. Okay, this is the case. This panel you need to design this type of panel. When you come across this type of panel, you have to take the alpha x value from here, from these points, and alpha y value from these points. Okay. So these are the cases which are given. Now two adjacent edges discontinuous. Again, two adjacent edges are discontinuous means other two adjacent edges are continuous. That is the simple meaning. You know, in the same diagram, if I draw here, in the same diagram, if I draw, then it may be like this. Okay. And now, if you see here, this edge, here this edge is continuous. This edge is continuous. Okay, but what they have said, two adjacent edges discontinuous. So this edge is discontinuous. This is the edge 1 which is discontinuous. This is the second edge which is discontinuous. So these two are the adjacent edges. So these two adjacent edges are discontinuous. So this type of panel may be there. If this type of panel is there, then you have to use the coefficient from here. These are the coefficient for alpha x and these are the coefficient for alpha y. So in this way, while calculating the alpha x and alpha y, you should pay attention what is the condition given in problem, and if nothing is given in the problem, then you should always do this thing. If nothing is given in the problem, then always go for this case number 4. Okay. Sorry, 9. If nothing is given, then assume this case. If nothing is given. Okay. So for 4 ages discontinuous, you can assume this. And you know that we have just taken the values in our problem now from these coefficients only, from these two. Okay, and this is the value of our alpha 1 in the problem. So I hope now you are cleared with all these things. Okay. So again we will move to our slide. So now here after solving it, this is the final reinforcement. What we can say is reinforcement sketch. Or these are the reinforcement details. In exam, this carries 2 to 3 marks. If you solve the whole problem correctly And if you not draw this reinforcement diagram, then your marks are going to be reduced 101%. 2 to 3 marks you will lose here. If the problem is out of 10 marks, then you will get only 7 marks even after you have written everything correct, if you don't draw the diagram. And diagram should be drawn like this now here, how I have shown over here. You have always draw the exams by the free hand in the exam. You don't use any scaling or any scale pencil. You directly start to draw it with pen. So don't do that in the exam. Draw clean and neat diagram. See, in the DCS paper for design of concrete structures 1, the paper checking is in such a way that first examiner see your reinforcement detailing diagram. Okay, if I here also this panel is continued. Okay, so now you can see that if I highlight this, now if I highlight this, so now after this now if you don't draw this diagram, then your marks are cut down, that I already told you. So uh, this diagram is very important in the examination. First, as a examiner, when we check the paper, what is the process? First, your reinforcement diagram. They will see first your reinforcement diagram. They know that for two-way slab, for how much bar diameter is required, what may be the standard spacing, how it comes out to be, what should be the value. So from that basis also, they came to know that whatever calculations you have done above, those are correct or wrong. Okay, so this diagram is very important. Now in the further part now, uh, we are going to see the design of cantilever slab now. So this is over, design of two-way slab. So after this now we will move to our next part, that is design of cantilever slab. So design of cantilever slab is also very easy, and design of it is just like a design of one-way slab. Okay. But what is the difference in designing the one-way slab and designing the cantilever slab? Now we will go to this here. We will see the cantilever slab. Now, if you go through the problem, what they have given here, are you able to see my screen? Screen shared? Yes or no? So, see here. Design a cantilever slab for a live load of 3 kilonewton per meter square. Span of slab is 1.25 meter. Use M20 grade concrete and Fe415 steel. Take bearing as 130 mm. So this is the given problem to us, and we need to design the cantilever slab. Now what is the meaning of cantilever? What is the meaning of cantilever? You already know that. What is the meaning of cantilever? Cantilever beam is this type of beam. We know that always. This is fixed support, and if you see this type of beam which is acting upon by the load, we say this beam as a cantilever beam. Okay. This beam is known as cantilever beam. So if you see the slabs here which are supported in this fashion, then this slab are called as a cantilever slab. Okay, so the slabs, these slabs normally we find in balconies. The slabs of the balconies are cantilever slabs. Okay, so we will design this cantilever slab now. So the design of cantilever slab is same as that of design of our simply supported slab one way slab. So we will go step by step. Always remember this thing that whenever they mention you specifically design the cantilever slab, then there is no need to check whether that this slab is one way slab or two way slab. Cantilever slab is a type of one way slab. Okay, in the cantilever slab also, in the main direction, main steel is provided, and distribution steel is provided in the another direction. Okay. So for the cantilever slab now, what is our step number one? First of all, we will calculate the depth. Okay, Here there is no question of deciding Ly by Lx ratio less than 1 or greater than 1. Okay, as they have directly told us design the cantilever slab. So now here the question is how to calculate the depth.
Start, no problem.
Okay. Okay, so coming back to our problem now. I think my voice will be okay, audible to all. So design a cantilever slab for a live load of 3 kN per meter square. The span of slab is 1.25 meter. Use M20 grade of concrete and Fe415 steel. Take bearing as 130 mm. So now here they have directly told us to design a cantilever slab. So there is no need to decide that whether this slab is one way slab or two way slab. In cantilever slab, along main steel is there, and on another direction distribution steel is there. So now the question is how to find out the depth of the cantilever slab. So to calculate the depth of the cantilever slab, the formula is depth d is equal to depth d is equal to it is span it is span divided by 7 7 into modification factor. It is equal to depth is equal to span divided by 7 into modification factor. Again it is given in the IS code. uh, it is given in the IS code. I will write here the clause. It is given in clause number. Clause number for that is 23.2.1. It is 23.2.1, and page number it is given on page 37. Okay. So as per this clause, we know that for simply supported we take this ratio 20, for continuous 26, and for cantilever it is 7. Okay. So now our next job is to calculate the modification factor. What is the value of this modification factor? So to calculate the modification factor, what we do, we know that we refer. Okay, what we refer figure number 4. Okay, figure number 4 on page 38 of IS 456 2000. Simultaneously with me, you copy down the notes. These are very important points. So now from this we can calculate the depth. So D is equal to span. What is the length given? Span of slab is 1.25 meters. So it is 1250, that is in mm, divided by 7 into modification factor. So now to calculate the modification factor, first of all assume the percentage of steel. Okay, so assume percentage of steel. So we assume here percentage of steel. Assume we assume some value. For slab generally we assume it as a 0.3%. So we assume percentage of steel 0.3%. Then go to page number 38, figure number 4, and calculate the value of modification factor. So I will open the IS code now. So here IS code. Okay. So now in the IS code we need to go for page number 38. So this is page number 30. So we need to go for 38. So this is the diagram. Okay. So now here the percentage of steel is given on the x-axis On y-axis modification factor is there. I have explained this graph to you. Okay, previously also we have discussed on this graph. Here the percentage of steel is given. Here the modification factor is given. Now you need to calculate this value by using this formula. Okay, so what is the formula? It is Fs is equal to 0.58 Fy into what is the formula? AST required divided by AST provided. Okay, this is the formula. AST required divided by AST provided. So Fs is equal to 0.58 as it is multiplied by what is Fy? Fy is 415 into this ratio it is 1. Why it is 1? Because we assume that whatever area of steel is required, that much of area we are going to provide. Okay, initially we assume that whatever area is required, that area is we are going to provide. So this ratio we assume it as a 1. Now if you solve this for Fs value of Fs, then you will get the value of Fs as 240. Okay, it is nearly equal to 240. It is 240.7 something, so 240. So see the line of 240 now. Here is the line of 240. Here is the line of 240. So here it is 0 then 0.4. So this in between value is 0.2. So zero point 0.3 may be somewhere here. So if you project, so now percentage of steel assumed is 0.3%. So again if we go to the IS code, I have to share the IS code with you. IS code and this graph. Now if you project the lines, okay, so 0.3 may be somewhere here. So if you project it, it may be, we will get the value somewhere here. And now if you again project this line, it will come somewhere here. Okay, so it will come somewhere at this point, and this value, if now see this is zero point 0.4, so this is zero point 0.2, here it is zero point 0.6, here it is 1.0, so this is 1.4 and this value is just above 1.4. So we will take this value as modification factor 1.45. We will take this modification factor as 1.45. And this value we are getting for here. Here is the percentage of steel is 0.3. So 1.45 is our modification factor. So now again we will go back to our slides. We will go back and we will solve the problem. So here the percentage of steel assumed is 0.3% from this figure number 4, page number 38. Now it is clear that now that modification factor is 1.45. 1.45. Therefore now, so therefore we will put the values. D is equal to, what was our span? It is 1250. So it is 1250 divided by 7 into 1.45. Do the calculation. Do the calculation and let me know the answer. Here I am not having the perfect answer, but still D is equal to, I think nearly equal to 127 mm. This is the value of D. Okay. Now after this, you can assume the bar diameter and clear cover. So assuming, so I am assuming here 10 mm bar diameter and 15 mm clear cover. Okay, I am assuming 10 mm bar diameter and 15 mm clear cover. Then capital D is equal to, it is 127 plus 15 is clear cover plus 10 by 2. I hope now you are clear with this. What is the effective depth? This small d is effective depth. This capital D is overall depth. So this overall depth is works out to be, what is the overall depth now? It is 147 mm. 147 mm. So we can round up the value of depth to 150 mm. Now if this value is 150 mm, then again this value will change. Okay, because for 127 our overall depth is 147 mm. Now if we increase the overall depth to 150, then our this small d is also increased. Uh, so that's why we have to calculate the value of small d again. So now to calculate the value, I will write here small d is equal to, now it is 150 minus 15 minus 10 by 2. So this value works out to be how much? It is 130. This value is 130. Okay. So now from the next step, now once we got the depth, now calculate effective span. Okay. So your next step is you need to calculate the effective span. Okay. So now you can calculate this effective span from the IS code. It is clause number 22.2E. Okay, it is given in clause number 22.2E, page number 34, 35. Okay. So if we go to the IS code now, 22.2 clause number. Okay, so we will go to the IS code. I will search for the clause number 22. 22 point something was there. Okay, so here we will get that 22.2.E. So here is the clause. C is there. So now the effective length of the cantilever slab. Here you will see the clause for effective length. The effective length of cantilever shall be taken as its length to the face of the support plus half of the effective depth. Okay, except where it forms the end of continuous beam, where the length of the center of support shall be taken. So here it doesn't form any continuity. So here we say that the effective length of the cantilever shall be taken as its length, okay, from face of the support to the half of the effective depth. So half of the effective depth. So this we need to use clause number 22.2 C. Okay, clause number 22.2 C, and it is given on page number 34. So now we will move to our slides. So here one more. So now effective span. So we will calculate now effective span from clause number 22.2 C, page number 34. So L effective is equal to, what is the effective length? So it is 1.25 plus half of effective depth. So your effective depth is 130, that is 0.13 divided by 2. This is your L effective. So it works out to be 1.315 meter. 1.315 meter. You write down everything simultaneously with me. It is 1.315 meter. Okay. So next is the load calculation. Next thing is load calculation. Okay. So next is load calculation. So now in the load calculation, first calculate the head load observed. So initially we assuming assuming 1 meter wide or 1 meter width, we can say, assuming assuming the 1 meter width of the slab. So assuming 1 meter width of the slab. Now if you assume 1 meter width of the slab, then what do you get? So here first of all you will calculate the self weight of the slab, that is dead load of slab. First is dead load of slab. So dead load of slab is equal to, now my voice is audible. So dead load of slab is equal to, what is the depth of the slab? Dead load of slab is equal to the overall depth 0.15 multiplied by 25. So if you do 0.15 multiplied by 25, then it will works out to be 3.75 kilonewton per meter. So it is 3.75, which is kilonewton per meter square. Now after that, floor finish. So floor finish is equal to, it is 1 kilonewton per meter square. So this is assumed value. It is not given in the problem. Okay. Then live load. So live load is equal to, what is given in the problem? What is the value of live load? What is the value of live load? So I think live load is given in the problem, and the value of live load is 3 kilonewton per meter square. So the value of live load, it is 3 kilonewton per meter square. This is the value of live load. Now we will calculate the total load. So total load is equal to what will be the total load? 3.75 plus 1. So it is 7.75. It is 7.75. Okay. Into, now this is kilonewton per meter square. Okay, 7.75. But we have assumed 1 meter wide strip. So if we multiply this by 1, then we will get the answer in kilonewton per meter. 7.75 kilonewton per meter. Okay. So now after this, we calculate factored load. So factored load is equal to, factored load is equal to, it is 1.5 into 7.75. So it works out to be, factored load is 11.62 kilonewton per meter. This is the factored load. Now after calculation of the factored load, So the after calculation of the factored load, okay. So now here we have calculated the factored load. So after factored load, now calculate the bending moment. Okay. Now we know the load. Okay, this is the fact total load. We know the span. So next step is the bending moment calculation. Bending moment calculation. This is your next step. Bending moment calculation. So to calculate the bending moment, now see here, if a beam is there, okay, and it is cantilever, and now on that beam, if the load is acting, then the point load is there, then a movement will be W into L. Here the movement will generate, and that if this span is L and if this load is W, then what will be the moment at this end? That movement will be W into L. Now same cantilever beam is there, okay, and it is now carrying UDL. It is now carrying UDL, and the intensity of the UDL is W kilonewton per meter, and L is the length of the UDL. Then the movement generated at this point here, the movement generated will be WL square by, okay. So the cantilever slab, in the case of cantilever slab also, this bending moment will be there. So UDLW, the value of W is this much, 11.62, and the value of L is 1.315 meter. Okay. So now we will calculate the bending moment. So bending moment is equal to, it is WL square by 2, which is equal to 11.62 into L square is 1.315 square whole divided by 2. So bending moment is equal to, the value of bending moment will be, it is 10.05 kilonewton meter. So the value of bending moment will be is 10.05 kilonewton meter, which is equal to 10.05 into 10 raised to 6 Newton mm. So, Newton mm. So now after the calculation of bending moment, now we should take the check for depth. This is our bending moment. Okay. This is the value of bending moment. I have highlighted over here. This is our value of what? Bending moment. Now after the calculation of bending moment, we have to take the check for depth. Okay. So next thing is check for depth. Check for depth, whether the given depth is sufficient for this bending moment or not. That we have to check it. Now to take the check for depth, what we will do? We will equate the maximum bending moment. We will equate the maximum bending moment to moment of resistance. So what is our maximum bending moment? Maximum bending moment is 10.05 into 10 raised to 6, which is equal to moment of resistance. Now what is the grade of steel given? So grade of steel is 415. So for 415, what should be the moment of resistance? The coefficient, it is 0.138. Then it is FCK and BD square. This is the formula. So now after this, I can write over here 10.05 into 10 raised to 6 is equal to 0.138 into FCK is 20 into B is 1000 into D is at it is related with D required square. So if you solve this, you will get uh, if you solve this, you will get D is equal to, what is the value of D you are getting now? So the required depth is 60.34 mm. So the required depth is so less. Okay. So the required depth is 60.34 mm. Okay. So D provided, whatever we have provided, D provided is greater than D required. Therefore it is safe. Therefore it is safe. So D provided is greater than D required. Whatever we have provided is greater than what is required, hence it is safe. Okay. So we have provided D 130 and it required 60. So it is safe. So now after this steel calculations, next step is steel calculation. So now we will calculate the steel. You know the formula for steel. It is AST is equal to zero point 0.5 FCK BD divided by Fy in bracket 1 minus under root 1 minus 4.6 mu divided by FCK BD square. This is the formula for AST. This is the formula to calculate the area of steel. Now put the value, so you will get the area of steel. So AST is equal to, put all the values over here, 0.5 into FCK is 20 into B is 1000 into D is 130 whole divided by Fy is 415, then in the bracket 1 minus under root 1 minus 4.6 into 10.05 into 10 raised to 6 divided by it is 20 into 1000 again into D is 130. So this bracket we need to solve. So we solve, and after solving this we will get AST, area of steel. AST is equal to 222.09. You cross verify the answers. 222.09 mm square. Okay. So now once we got the area of steel, then we have to calculate number of bars. We have already assumed 10 bar diameter. So the next step is calculate the number of bars. So the number of bars is equal to, how many number of bars are there? Total area divided by area of single bar. Okay. So you calculate the number of bars. So total area, what is the total area? It is 222.09 divided by area of single bar. It is 5 by 4 into what diameter we have assumed? I think 10 square. So the number of bars are 2.82. 2.82. So we will round up to 3. So 3 numbers are required. 3 bars are required. Okay. So if the 3 bars are provided, then what is the value of AST provided? Now we need to calculate the value of AST provided. 3 bars are provided, each of diameter 10. Each of diameter 10. Then what will be the value? It is 235.61. It is 235.61 mm square. So this is the value of AST provided. Now after AST provided, calculate percentage of steel provided. So percentage of steel. Initially we have assumed this. Now we will calculate the provided value. Percentage of steel provided is nothing but 100 AST divided by BD. So now here 100 AST, that is 100 into area of steel provided, you should take 235.61 divided by B is 1000 into D is, what is the depth? It is 130. Okay. So here the B is 1000 divided by, so the percentage of steel, value of percentage of steel, what we get from here, that percentage of steel is 0.181%. Okay. So the percentage of steel is 0.18%. This is the percentage of steel. Okay. So our percentage of steel assumed is greater than percentage of steel provided. So the deflection criteria is satisfied. There is no need to check for the deflection. So here first of all we will calculate the spacing of this steel. So I will write here spacing of bars. Spacing of bars. So while doing the spacing of the bars, what we will do now, for spacing of the bars, first spacing is equal to, how it is calculated, area of single bar divided by AST provided to 235.61 into width. So in our case width is 1000. So now if you do this calculation, you will get 333. Okay, so I will round this value to 330 mm center to center. Second, from IS code, what does the IS code says for the spacing? It is 3D. Okay, so it will be 3 into 130, which is equal to 390 mm center to center. And then third, in no case the spacing must be 300 mm center. Okay, so from this least value you should choose. From 1, 2 and 3 you should choose least value. So what is the least value now? Least value is 300. Okay. If you see here, the least value is 300. So we are going to provide how many bars? 3 or 4? Number of bars we already calculated, 3 bars. Each of bar diameter 10 mm and its spacing is 300. So I will write over here, provide 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 3 bars 3 bars of 10 mm diameter about 300 mm center to center. This is your mainstay. This is your mainstay. Now distribution steel. After main steel, we need to calculate for distribution steel. So now what is the distribution steel? As per IS 456-2000, what the clause says for the distribution steel? The clause says that if you use Fe 250, that is mild steel, then your distribution steel is how many? 0.15%. 0.15% of gross area. And if you are using HYSD bars 415 or 500, then your what we can say, your distribution steel is 0.12% of gross area. So here our grade of steel is Fe415, so it must be 0.12%. So I will write here ASTD, area of distribution steel, Fe415 and 500. So if you solve this, you will get it as a 180 mm square. So it is 180 mm square. This value is 180 mm square. So assume 8 mm diameter bar now. Bar diameter. Here I have assumed 8 mm bar diameter. Then calculate number of bars. Okay, so number of bars is equal to number of bars is equal to, how to calculate the number of bars? The number of bars is equal to total ASTD divided by area of single bar. Area of single bar. So it works out to be 3.58, which is nearly equal to 4. Then calculate spacing of bars. Okay. So to calculate the spacing of bar, first spacing is equal to, how to calculate the spacing now? It is area of single bar. So before calculation of the spacing, what we will do over here is we calculate actual ASTD provided. Okay, so we can calculate over here what will be the ASTD that can be provided. So these are the four numbers. Then we calculate ASTD provided. ASTD, that is distribution steel provided, and it is equal to what it is provided, 4 bars, each of bar diameter 8 mm. So ASTD provided, what is the value? ASTD provided is equal to, so the distribution steel provided is, it is equal to 201.06, 201.06 mm square. Now calculate the spacing. Okay, now how to calculate the spacing? So again the spacing of bars. Spacing of bars. Now to calculate the spacing, what is our first step? Spacing is equal to, spacing is equal to area of single bar divided by AST provided multiplied by width. In our case it is 1000. So it is 250 mm center to center. Okay, so it is 250 mm center to center. Second case, what is the spacing for distribution steel? What is the spacing for distribution steel? It is 5D. So 5D means what? 5 into D is 130. So what is the answer for 5D? It is 650 mm. That is 650 mm center to center. And third thing, spacing is equal to third thing spacing is equal to, in no case it must be 450 mm for distribution steel. Now take the least value of this and consider that as a spacing. So least value is 250. So I will write the final line over here. How many number of bars we are going to provide? How many number of bars we have provided? 4. 4 bars of 8 mm diameter. So here I can write provide 4 bars of 8 mm diameter about 250 mm about about 250 mm center to center. Okay. So for today we will stop over here. In the next lecture we will take the further step of this problem. Okay. So up till now we have done this. So the AST distribution still, up to the distribution still we have solved the problem. Remaining problem we will take in the next lecture. Okay, so I will stop my screen sharing over here. So I will request you all once again go through all the videos of DCS. Now this video also I will upload on the WhatsApp and YouTube. You just go through this video also. And today